Jujutsu Kaisen Modulo is on a generational run right now, as Chapter 9 is wild. In this chapter, we stay in Maru's flashback, and we even get a small showcase of the sukuna level threat, Dabura, which, yeah, is insane. Alright, starting off this chapter, we learn that the third eye of the Shimmeranes is the source of their Loraluka, which is essentially just their cursed energy. Anyway, this makes it an invaluable organ for any race. Only Lumelians wept from their third eyes when the Kalians perished. Other Shimurians only wept from their third eye when they were born and when they died, as a tear produced by their third eye is incredibly dangerous for the brain and may cause death. We then see all of the Lumelians standing around, and someone says that the Deskuntan Patriarch's daughter was mauled to death by a Kalian. Everyone looks shocked, and an old man says that the Kalians were wiped out from the Deskuntan lands years ago. On top of that, a Kalian would never commit such an atrocity unless provoked by a Lumelian, explaining that they're demanding the annexation of 90% of their lands, including the new canal, in exchange for his daughter's life, and he's not afraid to start incursions. The other Lumelians find this absurd and say that it's just an unjust cause of war and that they would never accept that. The old man scratches his head and says that a duel challenge has already been sent by their envoy. The text then tells us that the Deskuntans won't achieve anything by the path of war, but they will declare war after achieving their goals. Shimuria is known to bestow political power to those who possess real strength. They're not exactly cannon fodder, but Deskuntans are much stronger than they are, saying that there'll be a duel between chosen champions of both factions, and that they may continue their crusade if they emerge victorious, but also would be forced to concede to their demands without making a fuss. After that, a Lumelian says that actually a duel would be good for them, and asks Doula if he isn't right. Maru and Cross are just a little lost, but after that, the other Lumelians reveal that it happened just when they were born, but that they had a duel right before they lost their village, and Doula won that duel. Maru looks super excited as he asks if that's right. The other says that it was the duel the Deskunte war chief joined, and that the whole thing was fixed for their side to win. But despite all that, Doula still won the duel. They continue and say that Doula is the strongest Cimmerian ever, and that Doula will somehow make it. However, Doula tells them to be quiet, and says that there were many warriors who hadn't attended that duel. Cross then speaks up, and asks if they can't just refuse the duel. The old man says that they can't, as the Deskutans become cruel beasts when they see their opponents refuse the ultimate purpose of warriors, and that refusing is off the table. Cross thinks that it means that refusing would just mean losing anyway. However, in his head, he thinks that in that time, he should have realized why Doula hadn't told Maru or himself about it, as even if they lose, they can't retaliate. But if they don't do anything, that'll be the end of them all. Doula then speaks up, and says that he will just accept the duel and give it a go. We then get to the duel day, and Cross thinks that laying eyes on the Deskutan candidate had made the Lumelian warriors realize the truth. His heart ached, his limbs went numb, and he felt his mind being clawed at, thinking that he would never forget that horrific day ever. And we then see Dabura entering, and right away, Cross speaks up and screams towards Doula. He tells him to please run, because if he doesn't, then he will get killed, saying that no one will blame him if he does it, as they are all grateful to him. Doula just looks back at him and says his name. After that, he goes to Dabura and says that it's been a while and asks how his sister is. Dabura just looks sad as he looks at the ground. Because of that, Doula asks if they are still keeping hostages. Dabura then speaks up and asks him what he's supposed to do, as they asked him to destroy Doula. Doula tells him not to worry about it, as what happens now doesn't really matter, but he says that he has a tiny favor to ask him. He then goes to Dabura and whispers something to him. Dabura says that he sees, and after that, Doula asks to get to speak some words here, as there are many tribes here. He screams out to them all and tells them to listen up. He says that they Lumelians understand why there's a wall between him and them, as Lumelians worship the Kalians. But when all this conflict began a decade ago, this holy war against the Kalians wasn't the reason they were exiled. The Deskutans invaded them because of their Muru mines, and we get explained that Muru is a special ore that stores Loraluka within it. Most in the crowd starts to agree with Doula, but he then continues and says that he is not going to beg them or cry over what happened after all these years, and even if their motives are pure greed and personal gain, the other tribes would never fight back if they use a holy cause as their shield. They'll keep their mouths shut, scared to speak out, thinking that there has to be something more to it. Doula, however, is far from stopping, and says that religion was meant to guide their lives, not to be twisted into a cultural weapon of war. What they asked of them was not for them to respect their religion, but their way of life. He lowers his head and says that they're not that different, as the same pulse pumps through all of them. So with that, he asks them to heed his call and save Lumelia, and to please accept Lumelia as their neighbors. After that, we see the boss telling Dabura to proceed, and everyone looks to be close to crying as they see this. Maru then jumps up from his seat and is heading right to Dabura, but before he can get to him, Cross has already slammed him into the ground. He screams at him, asking what he is doing. Maru, still on the ground, screams towards Dabura and says that he held back and that he didn't use his full strength, asking how he can call himself a warrior and insult Doula like that. Dabura just apologizes, but says that he didn't want to hurt his face. The text then says that they learned later that Doula and Dabura were good friends, and that they used to help each other grow as warriors before the Lumelians were forced into exile, saying that Doula was the only person who knew what Dabura was capable of, since he didn't enjoy showing himself off. We then see Doula being beautifully buried in flowers. We also get a flashback to when Cross asked Doula what his neighbor's thing meant. Maru says that it means the people close to him, but Cross, funny enough, said that no one asked him. Doula then says that they're companions who understand why the things you treasure are so important. After that, at the funeral, Cross thinks back to his words and says that it's impossible, as he was the one they treasured above anyone else. We then see them talking by a fire, and they ask what they are going to do now, as this place will be deserted by tomorrow. They say that they have to move somehow, even if it's just the women and children. Cross asks what they can even do with their remaining land. Another one says that he would rather die fighting than slowly fade away. But the old man says that a warrior's duty isn't to die with glory, but to protect their women and children. Maru then joins in and says that he wonders if other tribes will offer a helping hand after hearing Doula's speech, but someone says that he doubts that it will happen. Suddenly, as they are speaking, Dabura appears out of nowhere, and he says that Doula left them something. They then walk over to a place and see a ton of muru. Cross then thinks back to when Doula had told them not to touch the stones over there, and he thinks that he collected all the muru he found while digging. However, someone then says that the Deskutans will find these on a moment's notice if they leave them be, saying that Doula's work was for nothing after all. After that, we see another flashback to Doula, telling them why he is doing all of this. He says that a village, a town, or a city, they're all made by these dreamt-up ideals of someone from the past. Even if he dies someday, this canal will eternally remain, and then someone else will come along to make Lumelia into an even better place. Both Maru and Cross say that it sounds really amazing, and after that, we get back to real time, where Maru passes his hand on the muru, and he starts to light up as he says that this won't be for nothing, just like the canal. This is the path Doula carved for the future of Lumelia. Maru then puts out his hand to Cross, and both of them start to light up, and not long after, the stones start to float. The old man is amazed and says that this isn't muru, but something far purer. Maru looks super happy and asks everyone if it wouldn't be amazing to look for peaceful lands for them to live on. Someone says that there's nowhere like that for them, but Maru says that there is, and that it's a planet where people like them live. Dabura then speaks up and says that he will be coming with them, as he made a promise to Doula to protect the Lumelians. After that, Maru puts his finger up towards the sky and says, "Onwards to infinity and beyond to find their neighbors," and this panel is just so cool. Now first up, I want to apologize, as this is my first video in this series, so I'm not certain on everything. So if I get something wrong, please go easy on me. But however, what a good chapter. I'm mind blown. However, I'm kind of a small brain, so it was a lot of text, which might sound silly, but the context of everything was amazing. Firstly, let's talk about Dabura. Now I'm pretty sure that it's him who has been labeled as the Sukuna level threat. Now his fight was kind of off screen, so we didn't see anything about his powers, but we can assume that he is super strong. On top of that, Doula mentioned his sister, and that's when he looks super sad. And Doula then says that they are still keeping hostages, which would be referring to Dabura's sister. And I'm guessing that it's why he felt forced to participate in this duel against Doula, as they threatened to do something to his sister if he didn't. Now I get that part, however. How is he then allowed to just leave them and go to the Lumelians and protect them? I don't really understand that part yet. Now after that, I want to speak quickly about Cross. He's grown on me a lot this chapter. In the previous chapter, I hadn't really liked him, and I was much more of a Maru fan, but I don't know why. But something about his actions in this chapter really made me like him. Lastly, I just had to talk about this whole neighbors thing, and I find that so wholesome. Basically referring to your friends as neighbors, or just overall people that you are close with. That's a really nice spin on it, as I have never seen anyone use neighbors in that way. Anyway, this was my first chapter review on Jujutsu Kaisen Modulo. Sorry that it's a bit late also, but yeah, please comment on what you thought about this chapter and what you would rate it. I would actually give it a strong 7, I think, as it was super solid. Anyway, if you like content and videos like this, then I would highly suggest you subscribe to this channel. And while you are at it, leave a comment and a like, as it helps out with the algorithm a ton. And if you are curious to see another video of mine, then please watch the video, which will be popping up on the screen now. Anyway, thanks for watching and have a great day. Bye.